Lorde is in the process of promoting her upcoming album, Virgin, and we've talked about it on the show last week. But she just did a cover story with Rolling Stone titled, I kid you not, I'm an intense bitch. So thank you for telling us, Lorde, before we get into any of the insane things that she said in this interview. I want to start off by showing you this photo in the spread.
Hold on.
She's pull that up. Thank you. And they said Lorde is goofy for Rolling Stone. Okay,
it's like
so
everybody's kind of fallen victim to like so-and-so stuns.
yeah, you're getting the picture by now that Lorde is really quirky.
She's not like most girls.
She's LOL, so random.
I feel like she's kind of falling victim to the same falling behind that Katy Perry has. She hasn't caught on to the most current version of feminism.
No, the best advice I can give Lorde, just to start off with, is stop hanging out with Charlie XCX. Her weirdness is rubbing off on you. So the subhead here says,
if you're gonna hang out with somebody weird, hang out with Lana Del Rey.
Virgin, her first album in 4 years, is raw, wild, and sublime, but it came after a series of personal changes and revelations. From a breakup, to an eating disorder, to an expanding gender identity, now she's ready to talk about all of it. And it was a doozy.
She's a celebrity. They're always ready to talk about all of it.
So the first revelation from this interview that is getting the most attention right now is that Lorde went off of birth control in 2023. And it seems to have had a serious effect on her mentally. She said she had been on birth control since she was 15 years old. And at the age of, I think, 26, went off of it, saying, I've now come to see my decision was maybe some quasi-right-wing programming, but I hadn't ovulated in 10 years, and when I ovulated for the first time, I cannot describe to you how crazy it was. One of the best drugs I've ever done.
Being able to have kids is right-wing.
So she's implying here that she fell to some sort of right-wing narrative that convinced her to quit birth control.
Yeah.
And Evie Magazine responded to this headline because they've been one of the frontrunners on talking about birth control and the risks and a lot of the misinformation that's spread about it to women who take it. They say Lorde's choice of words reveals something deeper and troubling about the cultural minefield women have to tiptoe through when they make health decisions that don't align with progressive orthodoxy. She had to preface her decision to quit birth control with a nod to right-wing programming because apparently listening to your body gets you side-eyed as a secret trad wife in disguise.
I will say that if you were to turn that argument on its head, there's plenty of people in right-wing circles that would look at you with side eyes if you tell them that you are on birth control. So it isn't inherently wrong to say that it might be some form of right-wing programming.
It's just funny because the left used to represent like natural stuff and like hippies and crunchy people.
Crunchies.
And it's completely flipped in recent years to the point where Lorde feels the need to issue a disclaimer before talking about her own health decision.
Yep.
Because if she didn't make a nod to like right-wing programming, her fans would have accused her of being secretly right-wing just because she doesn't take a mind-altering drug that makes you infertile.
What does the left think of home birth?
They're against. They're against. Because the left, the default lib take on everything related to health at this point is trust the science, trust the medical industrial complex on every last thing. And if you don't believe doctors on all of their opinions, even their educated
unless
opinions,
they tell you you don't have autism, that in which case you can self-diagnose.
Basically, like, you're an enemy of progressivism if you don't believe the science on every single issue. So if you think that there are undisclosed risks in taking hormonal birth control, you're basically, as they said, a secret trad wife in disguise who's trying to fool everyone. You know, you would think that getting off of birth control would actually stabilize Lorde's mental health so that she wouldn't say even more insane things like this. She says that in recent years she has become close friends with a fellow artist, Chapel Roan. Yep. And when she was asked how she identifies in her gender in this interview, here's what Lorde had to say. Chapel Roan asked me this. She was like, "So, are you non-binary now?" And I was like, "I'm a woman, except for the days when I'm a man." I know that's not a very satisfying answer, but there's a part of me that is really resistant to boxing it up. So some days Lorde wakes up and she feels like a woman, maybe the days where she's ovulating. And other days she wakes up and she's just not really feeling it that day and she's like, "I'm a man." But she doesn't want to fully go into identifying as non-binary.
This is what happened when we started
labels.
We started with situationships. We're like, we don't want to put a label on it.
Right.
And this is what happens. This is the slippery slope. When I posted about this, I kind of mourned to myself because I knew that I am not smart enough. I'm not intellectual enough to actually be able to write and monologue to you something interesting about what I think or feel about this statement. I can't. I'm not, like, there are plenty of people in this space who I'm sure will eloquently talk about this, but all I thought of when I saw this was just like, look, I would like to think of myself as closer to the average everyday person who is willing to take into account what you consider your lived experience, that phrase that they love to use.
Yeah.
What, you know, and then somebody says it's a fallacy. All experience is lived experience. Fine. You get what I'm saying, right? But respectfully, what the fuck does that mean? Like,
yeah.
what I mean by that is, like, I don't hear anyone. I know this is this comparison is a bit of a pastiche. It's like nobody says, like, I woke up today and I was just feeling Hispanic. I woke up today and I was feeling Asian.
What I do when I wake up and feel Hispanic is I go to Taco Bell.
I'm white except for on the days when I'm Asian. That's not a thing. And if it is, it's a Ryan Long skit. And if it is any other way, it was on Jerry Springer or Maury back in the day. It was something that was shown as tabloid fodder on a reality TV show. And as somebody who wants to, like, listen and actually just let you be, I just find it incongruous and weird sometimes, mostly because it's coming from vapid celebrities who are obsessed and have enough wealth and power to hold such luxury beliefs where the average person who's worried about making rent doesn't have time to think about these issues. And I know that those are tired talking points, but I think it bears repeating because I don't think of myself as an explicitly right-wing person in most beliefs. I think that there's a distinction to be made there. And if I'm like, what does that mean? You're going to lose a lot of people who are a lot less, willing to put up with your bullshit. Does that make sense?
Uh-huh.
For a lack of better, like, I don't begrudge anyone who's like, shut the fuck up. Like, even if that's not the approach I would take, I don't begrudge anyone because it's like, it's the same thing as waking up and saying, I feel like a billionaire, therefore I'm a billionaire today. And we've just induced a certain type of psychosis that I can't really comfortably say I understand.
Well, your impulse to show people respect and let them live and identify the way that they wish to is mistaken, I'll say. And the only logical response to someone saying that they're gender fluid or whatever the hell they are is shut the fuck up. That is the only logical response at this point. And, it's not, I've stressed this point. It is not about them living the way they want to live. It is about you. It's never about them. It's about you and your response and your perception of them and how you will show them respect and how you respond to the way they present themselves. It is completely performative. So if it were just, an exercise in, I want to dress this way some days and I want to dress this way on other days, that would certainly be one thing. But what she's doing right now is talking about her expanding gender identity in an interview that she knows is going to be blasted out to thousands of people for attention in order to sell her music and do what she believes will gain her favor and traction with Gen Zers who don't know about royals, who don't listen to her debut album and have no idea who she is.
I mean, all of it, my initial reaction
It's a cheap trick.
Like, I'm only even expanding on this because it's my job to expand on this. My reaction in the real world is to roll my eyes and just continue on about my day. Unfortunately, that doesn't fill up a segment's worth of time. We have to actually
Look, that's how I feel.
about it.
I've walked into a Starbucks before, seen a dude who identifies as a chick at the counter and walked right out.
Yep.
Because I am not going to let this person impose on me that I have to treat them a certain way. It's always about shit testing society, basically. That's what it is. When you're adopting these different marginalized identities, especially about your gender and your gender expression, it's about shit testing every last person that you interact with in public. Now, what she's doing, she believes that Gen Z reads this and is like, oh, she's gender fluid. That's so cool. They don't even like this. Like, it's not even landing with Gen Z. They think that this is super cringy and that she needs to just stick to what she's good at.
So it was like what? Like younger millennials?
It's a millennials idea of what's cool to Gen Z.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then lastly, Lorde talked about her experience in a psychedelic-fueled therapy session, I'm not kidding you, where she watched Pamela Anderson and Tommy Lee's sex tape in full. Here's what she said about it.
You have to read the quote. It's insane.
I found it to be so beautiful, and maybe it's effed up that I watched it, but I saw two people that were so in love with each other, and there was this purity. They were jumping off this big boat. They were like children. They were so free. And I was just like, whoa, being this free comes with danger.
It's just...
You've lost your mind.
As a millennial who grew up with Kazaa and Napster, and knowing that many young men my age probably jerked off for the first time to tapes as such, she's adding a weird level of pseudo-intellectual babble to something that was actually pretty traumatic to everybody involved, considering the tape itself was stolen and then illegally dispersed to the public and not meant to be shared with everyone. So when she says I shouldn't be watching it, or like she's like, maybe it was wrong.
Effed up.
Like, what does she mean by that? Is it the idea that you watch something that was never meant for public release?
Oh my gosh, yeah. She just last week attended the Met Gala with Pamela Anderson there. Do you think Pamela Anderson
She's
would
like,
feel
oh my god, I love your sex tape,
with someone coming up to her and saying like, I watched your revenge porn tape and I thought it was super artistic and enlightening? No. We have a 20 from Not So Secretly Based. Friday, no Friday because of the PCC gang. Thank you for being here, TGIF. Someone responded to that comment from Rolling Stone saying a stolen tape that's basically revenge porn and you're using it as a part of some bullshit psychedelic therapy sessions. You're not an alt angsty teenager anymore. You're just an adult loser.
I guess I don't think of it as revenge porn because one of them would have had to. I guess it's revenge porn.
It was a disgruntled employee.
So it's not the traditional idea of
Yeah.
what you think of as revenge porn, but yeah.
She's super out of touch. She's going the same route as Katy Perry, using these cheap tricks to remain relevant, and not even the people she's appealing to are into it. They hate this, and it's time for artists to just focus on like singing. That would be nice.
That would be good. That would be good. They need to find, or if they're going to venture off into pseudo-intellectual cultural bullshit, they need to hire better consultants.
Clearly, what happened to Lorde is years of hormonal birth control, other drug use, being an out-of-touch elite one-hit wonder, threw her brain, her identity, her worldview into a tailspin, and now we're looking at the wreckage.
Yep.
And I guess it's going to be streaming on Spotify soon.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.